All right, folks, here we go. Back for another exciting episode. We got the Morphy Lowenthal match continuing, game number 33. 33. Held on, let's see, the 14th match game held on August 21st, 1858. Morphy has the white pieces. E4, Lowenthal answers E5, and the knights come out. And look at this, Morphy with the Lopez, the Ruy Lopez. Bishop to B5. All right, Lowenthal hits the bishop, common move, A6. Morphy drops the bishop back, and the other knight leaps out, attacking E4. Look at Morphy ignoring it. Striking in the center himself, pushing the D-pawn, opening up the diagonal for the queen bishop. Expanding in the center. All right, so here we go. Pawn takes pawn, and Morphy pushes ahead with the king pawn, hitting the knight. The knight leaps into E4. Morphy castling. Development, folks, development. He's opening it up. He's opening it up. Okay, I can't even get it out. He's opening up the game while he's developing, right? Trying to get the jump on his opponent. Now you see Lowenthal attacking Morphy's bishop on A4. With moving the king knight a third time over to C5, right? Now here it says, in this now practically discarded variation of the Lopez, bishop to E7 is usual. See that? That shields the king, folks, in case the E-file opens up. That's a good move there. You develop the bishop, yes, even though it's only, on the E7, it's not in the main center of the battlefield. It's still developed on E7, okay? Getting ready, black could castle. All right, so anyway, that's the typical approach. But Lowenthal with a different line, less usual, right? So here we go. It actually says practically discarded variation. All right, let's see why. Morphy, instead of moving the bishop to B3, he takes the C6 knight. All right. Now black can't go ahead with his development. He's got to take back. He takes back with the queen pawn. Usually the common move in the defense to the Ruy Lopez, because you're opening up that diagonal for the light square bishop, black's light square bishop. All right. So he takes with the queen pawn, and now knight takes pawn is played. Lowenthal maneuvering the knight once again. Now on to E6. And Morphy chops it up. See, the knight here is hanging now. You got two on it. Lowenthal's knight and also the queen on D8. So, okay, Morphy chops it off. And Lowenthal develops, takes back. Now, folks, what if he was to do something slick, try to be slick, right? And take the queen, trade queens, figure, oh, I'm playing black, I'll go for the draw, let's get the queens off the board. Well, that's a mistake, because now black would lose a pawn like this. He's up a pawn, folks, right? Or is he? Wait, no. It's 7-7, right? So he'd lose a pawn. He'd be down one pawn now, right? Now the black king would move to attack that knight. And then we take back the queen. We can't move our knight, folks. Remember, black took our queen, right? So you got to take back material equality now when the king takes the knight on C7. The only fact that, like I said, black is down a pawn. So it's not material equality. And look at this. Now you could even, I bet you Fritz wants to do the tactics. Look, you set this up with a discovered pawn push, with a discovered check of the bishop on the black king. Let's see. Let's see what he does. I just shouldn't see. Look at that. Look at that. I'm right. Look at this. See? I mean, that's the first move it thinks of, I guess. You're developing a piece. Why not, folks, right? There's your extra pawn right there, too, on E5. Yeah, you don't want that pawn to be pushed. All right, so you blockade it. All right, and there you go. You're down a pawn for black. You can't have that. All right? So after Morphy trades, it's understandable. Lowenthal recaptures, developing a piece. Not bad. And now Morphy doesn't want to trade queens in any way, so he moves his queen to E2. Okay? Maybe he'll throw the rook on the d file, attacking the black queen. All right, let's just turn off this engine here. Okay, so after Morphy's queen to e2, we got Lowenthal developing the other bishop. Okay, bishop c5, so he's got both of them out. He's got the two bishops. Morphy's got the queen developed, and don't forget, he's castled. That's a developing move. So it's pretty much even, right? 2-2. We're pretty even Steven right here. And now it says here, oh, on the bishop to c5. Look at this note. Here he can soon be challenged. What do we mean by that? You're going to see it now. The knight comes to c3. Okay, natural square. And now Lowenthal moves his queen off the, you know a rook's going to come here, right? All right, he develops it here, backs up his bishop on c5. Well, sure enough, here's what we're talking about. The note said it, the old masters. See this? Knight's hitting that bishop on c5. All right? Now, we got Lowenthal making a move here. h6, folks. Right? h6. You wonder why? Let's look. What about castle, right? Why not take over the d file, right? You take over with your rook. You get the king to safety, right? Looks good, right? Well, here comes the move. Look. There goes the bishop. There goes the exchange, folks. The queen moves. Because, look, he's still got to protect this guy, right? If she goes to the light squares, the knight's a goodbye knight, right? Bye-bye. Let's just throw the analysis on. All right, you take the exchange first, right? You take the exchange first. And then if he takes back, you capture over here, right? Basically, you'd be up a rook now. You'd be up a rook, right? But, okay, you take here. He says to move the bishop. I don't know, I guess you're going for that pawn, right? All right, they say hit him. He takes the pawn. All right, you save your piece. There you go. So you just won a rook for a pawn. Do I see that right? Is that what it is, folks? And look at the evaluation, +5. A rook's worth 5 pawns, basically, folks. You know, that's the mathematics of it. I mean, it always depends on the mobility of the piece, the scope, right, on the board. But in general, the rook is worth 5 pawns. The minor pieces, the knight and the bishop, are worth 3, right? And it's funny. Look at the evaluation, +5, right? So it goes to show you. There you go, right? You're down, black's down a rook. That wouldn't work. So you can't jump to the queen side. Now, if he does something like this, look, he wants to try to block it. All right, you take it. You're still hitting the queen, right? And look at Shredder. If he moves the queen to the light squares, right, you lose the knight. Remember what I said? The knight hangs. The queen was protecting the knight. So, all right. If you, after this, if you take back, the obvious move, right, well, then you just take. Look, the knight, centralized knight. You see the power of the centralized knight? Now he's protecting the bishop. Now the queen is getting attacked once again. She's got to move, and you take your pick. Which rook are we taking? Ah, very sneaky. Because if you take this one, the king could take, right? I mean, you got, look, if you take this one, now if the queen is diverted again, right, folks, you lose the bishop over there. See that? I guess if you take this one, if the queen takes again, you lose the bishop. But maybe the king could take. Yeah, you take anyway. Look at this. You take anyway, because if he takes here, then you win this one, right? And once again, look at this. You're up a full rook. Forget about it. Game over. All right, so pretty stuff, right? Pretty stuff here. Pretty tactics. This is the stuff you got to know, folks. This is what you got to learn, right? Sharpen those tactics. Get the tactical vision. You'll do this stuff in your sleep by the time you're done. What, folks, I said it. Game 33. When we get through 300, you'll be unstoppable, all right? In an open game, you'll have master strength in an open game. All right? There's many more avenues to go down in this game of chess. There's the closed game. There's many end games you got to pick up. The modern master learns these things. But let's go with the open games first. You learn all these tactics, beautiful stuff, right? At the lower ratings, this is what you want to learn, okay? You open the game up and you blow the opponent off the board. All right, so he can't even push f6, right? Now let's look at this. What if he castles this way? Well, look at Shredder already jumping in. That's the move, folks, because remember, the queen can't move. If the queen moves, look, she can't go here. You got the pawn and the knight on it, right? The white pawn and the knight, right? You got to try to protect this guy. Well, you move, right? Goodbye bishop c5. Now, if you block, all the same, you take, right? All right, let's take. You want to give up the exchange? All right, you know, you do that. It's admitting defeat if you take with the pawn. Look at this. The bishop is hanging here, right? Take this guy. If he takes you here, big deal. Look again, all of a sudden, have you noticed the light square bishop drops, right? Now what? You're going to trade queens. That's all better. White has the extra piece, right? If he wants to block, we'll trade queens. We'll go right into it. We got the extra piece, folks. And the pawns, look at that. The pawns are even. How about that? No contest. You got the extra knight, right? All right. So, not so simple. You can't just, fly on autopilot. So there you go. This is a deadly move. This bishop to g5. So that's why Lowenthal has to resort to playing a dinky pawn move, right, to stop this guy. All based on two things. All based on two things in this position, folks. You got the centralized knight and that pawn up on e5. Crucial, right? Controlling those key squares, especially the f6 square. You see? Take those ideas. Absorb it. This came about in a Ruy Lopez. Who knows? There could be a different opening and you could stumble into the same idea, the same tactics, right? And you could pull it out. This is why you want to know these patterns. Have the tactical vision. Okay. So anyway, after h6, look at Shredder doing just what Morphy, I believe, does. Let's see, where is it? What move is this? Move 14 coming up. There you go. He's got it right. All right, now they're piling up on bishop c5, the knight and the bishop. So Lowenthal trades him off. Morphy takes back with the queen. You don't want to, in this case, you don't want to just open your F file and give yourself two, Isolanis. See that? That could be weak. So far he's doing fine. Take with the queen. You always could push the F pawn to protect your bread and butter up here. The advanced E pawn. Okay, F4 is going to be played, folks. Now here we go. Look at this. After Morphy takes the queen, takes with the queen, right? They traded bishops on E3. Lowenthal with the bishop to F5. All right. Morphy attacks the bishop. And look at this. He dives in for the pawn. They give it a question mark, folks. Okay? They give him a question mark. Now, here comes the F4 pawn. Like I said, launch the F-bomb. Protect that pawn on E5, right? And, you see White's gaining space. Now, who knows? It could get dangerous pushing those pawns up. Now, watch this. This is interesting. Lowenthal plays to stop that pawn push. Okay? I guess he's trying to stop this coming up. Maybe then blocking out the light square bishop on the defense of the king side. And maybe then he could open it up, He could open it up. I don't know. So, watch this, though. This is interesting. What if he castles long, right? If he castles long, let me just make sure of this now. I think we have a combination of moves here, attacking that bishop on C2, and you're bringing the queen down. And you know what it is? Yeah, my mistake. It's not yet. Here's what it builds off. I'm checking the notes now. After Lowenthal's G6. Now we got to move. Watch this. A subtle difference. Changes the position. Pawn up. Pawn push up. Yo, what's he crazy? He's giving up a pawn. I just said he pushed F4 to protect the E-pawn, right? Now he's throwing it into the wind. He's just giving it up. Here, take my E-pawn. Not so fast, folks. Look at the dangers, right? Look at the dangers. If he takes here, you got this. Look, the old masters, they come up with this move, right? You're forking the bishop and the rook on H8, right? If he moves this guy to safety, let me just check the analysis, right? You lose this guy. Heck, you lose both rooks maybe, right? Check move, look at that. You get all the power off the board. Check move here maybe. Alrighty, now he decides to just take the rook. Whatever's better, folks, really. Does it matter? At this time, white wins both rooks, right? I think he could manage now. I think he's got this game under control, right? And simply, simple enough. If he moves the rook, I don't know, let's say even castles, right? You take the bishop. You're forking one or the other. You're going to win one or the other. See that? All right, so you win a piece, right? It doesn't matter if he takes this way. Same move. Look, Shredder knows it now. All right, he castles long. All right, you get your free piece. There you go. You can have a lot of fun now. You're up a piece. Got an extra soldier. Okay, here you go. Look. So now, after this, if there is the castle move, look at this. After this castle move, okay, if he decides not to take the pawn, okay, we just looked at queen takes and then this move. Or we looked at pawn takes and then this move. But what if he doesn't? What if he goes right here? If he dives in, castle in long, look at Shredder right away. Look at what you're doing. You're going down here threatening mate. Threatening mate on A8. Mate on A8. Can you believe it? Queen to A8 is mate. All thanks to that E-pawn controlling D7. Right? The escape square, folks, for the black king. All right. Notice his C-pawn on C6 stops the C7 pawn from even advancing up to give himself the escape square C7, right? He can't push this guy up in time because it's still mate. If this pawn didn't exist, right? He could play. If this pawn didn't exist, he could play C6 now, and it's still getting shaky because then all the dark squares are weak. But he could then have an escape square C7. But he can't. Always remember that pattern when you got the double C pawns like this, and the enemy king castles long. This is when they come into play. Control the D file, control the D7 square, and you could have a queen mate, right, on the A file. All right, so anyway, let's go through it. If he takes that pawn, all right, the black king has an escape square on D7 again, right? But look at Shredder. You attack that piece, grab that pawn, that greedy little bishop. He grabbed that C pawn, and look how he's going to get burned now. What ends up happening? Well, we're going to want to control. Look, if he retreats, I don't know, if he goes anywhere, right? Well, if he goes anywhere, what we do is we take over the D file. Like I said, the pawn on E6 is gone. It no longer controls D7. D7 is the only escape square that can save the black king. So once we take over the D file now, he's got nowhere to go, right? He's got nowhere to go, right? So you can't retreat the bishop, okay? If you trade, it does no good, right? You take back. And then you got queen to A8 mate. Inevitable, right? But let me just check something. They're thinking, all right, what are you going to block? You're going to block, really? You just come up, look at that. You just come up, watch this, folks. You pile up on the bishop, right? Now I saw, okay, it's in another line. I'll show you. Look at this. I don't even know. I didn't even go this far. Rook up. Oh, if rook up, we could win the H8 rook. right? We check the king. He goes up. They're saying to take first. What's wrong with this? Let's just see. You take this guy over here, right? All right, he moves. All right, we trade. Big deal, right? There you go. We're up a rook, folks. We're up a rook. We still got, the queen could come down, but we got the knight. Look, the queen comes down here, we got the knight block. See that? And, you know, there you go. White's good to go. He's not in any trouble. All right, so watch this. So remember that this pattern, beautiful stuff, right? If he takes with this pawn, look at this. If he takes with this pawn, instead, you attack the bishop all the same. Now, if he moves here, right, blocking the d file, you can do it all the same. You go over here, right? You attack this guy. Right? You pile up on him. Here comes the queen check. So what? You trade. And now you take, you don't want to abandon your F pawn, so you take with this one, right? There you go. And that's that, folks. That's that. All right, so you're up a piece again. See how it works? Right? He goes here. You could move this one, perhaps, right? You try to protect it. You pile up. Again, here comes the check, right? It's just transposes. All the same. Oh, now your F-pawn's going to fall, I guess, right? All right, so he takes there. Even then, you're up the knight for, let's see here. Wait a minute now. All right, you got the knight for the 3 pawns, okay? But white also has the doubled rooks here. So, could be dangerous. You know, well, it looks like white's still up. White's still winning that one. All right, so anyway. So, with this pawn push, very sneaky. You see, folks, people under 2,000, you think they're going to see all these things? Come on. You're going to be crushing them. All right, so let's go through where I lost my place in the book. Here we go. Got my bookmark. All right, so after pawn to e6, the bishop comes back. He retreats. Okay? So now, Morphy chops him right off. The pawn takes. Now look at these pawns. Kingside pawns, ugly, busted up. They're all isolated, right? The black pawns on the king side cannot protect one another. They're very weak. That's a weak formation now. And Morphy takes advantage of it. He takes one here anyway. Trades, check. Now the queen's pinned to the king. He's got to just take with the king, the only way. Right? Okay. And then we got the move for Morphy here. We got the queen comes over here to h3. Attacking the f pawn. Attacking the f5. The black f5 pawn. All right. Queen protects. Here comes the queen rook over, getting in the game on the open e-file. Lowenthal with the challenge, and get a load of this one. Morphy moves the rook up to the e5 square, protected by the f-pawn, right? Now you would say, oh wait, well, Morphy's going to double rooks. He's going to move the f1 rook over, and that's a tactic, right? You double them rooks on the open file, you control the file. Black wouldn't want that, so you'd say, obviously, the common practice is to get rid of those rooks, trade them off, but look at what happens. When you take, you're hitting the queen, right? Queen moves, right? Queen moves, the f-pawn drops. You see that? Where would Shredder go here, right? What would he do? I mean, you're going to take the f-pawn next with rook or queen, right? He goes here. All right, he's saying there. Oh, look at that. He doesn't want to even take yet. Oh, he's going to go for the B pawn? Really? He's going to go for the B pawn. He's going to get a tempo on the rook on A8. Let's see. All right, king moves over here. Look at this. You go down. You hit the rook. Now you're going to pick up the C pawn, too. Look at this. With check. See that? All right. So it starts getting real ugly. Plus, after taking the c-pawn, the white queen protects that bread and butter right there, that e-pawn. Past e-pawn now for white. I don't think the black's not going to hang on for long. All right, so he can't trade. He can't trade. Meanwhile, with the rook coming to e5, they're doubling up on that f-pawn. Right? They're threatening to take it. What does Lowenthal do? Can you believe this? He's got to resort to defending it with the king. All right, else he loses that f-pawn. All right, so now, sure enough, there you go. Morphy doubles rooks. He doubles rooks now. Now he's threatening, Morphy's threatening to take on e8. He's going to win a rook. All right, so now they trade. All right, rook takes. All right, rook takes back. And now you got, let's see, rook to queen one. Lowenthal tries to grab the open queen file, the D file, right? All right, so here comes Morphy now. Let's see, Morphy does, let's see, I think he gives the check, right? Here he is, he gives the check. And the king goes over behind the h-pawn. He decides to park him over there. And now, pawn to h3. I guess that's to give his king a little shelter, the h2 square if need be. Maybe that's going to help advance the g-pawn in the coming endgame. All right, so now look at this. Rook to d7, protecting that second rank. Morphy. Maybe Lowenthal was reading his mind, see? He moves the queen over to e3. Now he's threatening the check, right? But Lowenthal's got it covered. He's got it covered on d7 with his rook. So here comes Lowenthal playing b3, okay? Maybe, I guess he felt maybe Morphy could squeeze the queen in on a7, attack the b7 pawn, you know, just to make a cheapo move. I don't know if this would be any good, but like maybe he's scared of this, you know. Again, he can't, the double c pawn's crippled. See, that the c pawn, the c7 pawn can't get out of the way to help the rook on d7 protect b7. You know what I'm saying? He comes down here. He tries to move this. He's a move late. He's a move late. He'd like to move this guy so the rook could protect b7, but he can't because this c6 pawn. See the handicap of the double pawns. So I guess he plays this. He doesn't. Lowenthal doesn't want him coming in, right? Attacking b7. So now look at this. Okay, I guess a little defensive move here. The king's tucked in the corner. All right, now we got this. This move comes up. It's finally trying to move those c pawns, c5, and Morphy attacking the a pawn, right? Attacking the a pawn with queen to e2. And let's see, is that right? Queen e2. You got. Oh, he's also threatening here. Look, Lowenthal plays this. Okay. He moves the queen over to g6. Why? Because Morphy's also threatening not only this. He's threatening to come over over here and attack the f pawn. See that? He's threatening to attack 2 on the f pawn, the rook, and then the queen on h5. That's why Lowenthal moves over to take over that square, right? Okay, now we got the rook. Now that they're doubled on the e file, folks, right? They got a queen and rook battery. Now he swings the rook up to take over the 6th rank, attacking the queen. The queen drops back to g7, right? Now you got the queen, right? The queen attacks f5. He's going after it, folks. Maneuvering, going after that isolated f pawn. See it? All right. See how he's playing off of that? Okay. So now Lowenthal's got 2 replies. He could play this, right, to protect that f pawn with his rook, which would fall to the tactics. Rook takes, right? If he goes here, only square for the king to run. Boom. You get hammered like that. See that? You lose your queen. You like that one, right, folks? Now you'd say, wait a minute, why don't the queen just take? Well, now you take over here. Look at this. You take over there, whatever. You want to block, you want to move, right? Yeah, you take this guy. Forget about it now, folks. Forget about it. This is a win for white. You got 3 passed pawns on the king side. All that white has to do is trade. He's just got to try to trade those queens, and it's all over, right? Simple endgame. I mean, black would have to babysit these 3 pawns, if he can even do it. And then the white king could walk all the way over there on the queen side and beat up those pawns, gobble them up, and then come back and escort one of his king pawns in. Okay? So, simple enough. So what's the move? What's the move? After the F pawn, this is one, loses, right? The only other move, here you go. He protects from D5, right? Now look at this. This is what's amazing here. After this move, Morphy plays the pawn, the queen. I don't know. He's just buying time, really. I mean, this pawn is under the gun, but the queen's helping defend the king over there, so I don't think he's going to grab this pawn. No way. Okay? But Morphy's just buying time, you get it? He's just buying time. Because if you haven't noticed, black's in knots, folks. He's tied up. He doesn't have any more options. This is the whole philosophy of chess, really, in a nutshell, folks. If you could make strong moves, right, which give your opponent a problem where it's such a strong move, they got to answer 2 problems, and they can only move 1 piece at a time, right, unless you're castling, as you know. But you can only make 1 move per turn. So if you got 2 problems, now all of a sudden you're in trouble. Hence the whole tactic of the fork, right? You can only save 1 piece, as an example. So this also comes into the strategy. While you're trying to fight to defend the opponent's attack, you leave there's other weaknesses that your opponent tries to nail you up against the wall on, right? He tries to attack weak pawns, weak pieces, where, but pieces has no mobility. He tries to capitalize on that. He tries to create 2 weaknesses, right? You can't answer 2 problems on 1 turn. That's my point. This is the whole philosophy of chess in a nutshell. You start to gain the upper hand. You keep posing harder and harder questions until finally your opponent has no options. He can't answer 2 problems on 1 move, right? So now, this especially is seen in the end game, which is known as Zugzwang, I believe they pronounce it, the German word, where you really have no moves. Any move kills you. You can't pass in chess, right? So here it's starting to get close to that moment where black has no options. Look at what happens here. After white moves B3, right? Okay. Lowenthal, they say right here in the notes, black's difficulty is that he has to move. And if he makes his 1 possible move with a piece, for example, they give, where can the rook move, folks? Remember, H5, right? I mean, F5 pawn. The F5 pawn hangs. He can't go here, obviously, right? If he moves this piece, there's no check, there's no tempo gaining in any way. If he moves, he drops the F pawn, game over, right? Heck, if he go, look at this. What's he gonna do, folks? What's he gonna do, right? Goodbye. It's gonna be game over now. Okay, so anyway, he can't move the rook. The only other move, now, what if he does come down here somewhere, right? What if he attacks our queen pawn, right? Our queen pawn's down there, A2, right? Well, folks, look at what's going on over here. You got to look at the other side of the board. Look at this. You could go here, check, right? He comes down, right? Check, game over, right? He can't abandon his king. The queen's got to hang around there. She's protecting H6, right? Or even G6, right? The white pieces are ganging up on that king. Pretty scary. So what's the only other square? This queen can move here, and they give it in the notes, see? They give it in the notes right here. If he plays queen to f8, right? The old masters, they had it all figured out, folks. This is their analysis. If he moves the queen to f8, all right, it still protects the f pawn, right? But like I said, look, check, king goes back, you pin the queen, game over, right? Game over. What's he gonna do now, right? I mean, if he takes, you take with check. Heck, where does he go now? Does he lose the rook eventually? You could probably fork that rook. It's not protected, right? Let's see. How do you do it? How do you do it, folks? Let's see if Shredder finds it too, right? Oh, there you go. There you go. Look. No problem for Shredder. I'm a little tired. I don't want to mislead you. I want to get right to it. Right to it. That's why it helps to always use the engine here when you got these. Folks, I'm going over so many games every day. It's after a while I start seeing things. My mind is getting tired. Look, okay, so he goes to the dark square, right? There's got to be a way to fork this guy anyway, right? Where does he go? Yeah, there you go. Where's he going to go? He's got to go to h8, no? He's got to go to h8 as he drops. If he goes here, you fork him right there on the light squares, right? If he goes here, same square, you fork, check, and you pick up the rook. See, you're picking up the rook on the light squares. So, what if he goes here? What if he goes there? All right, now you force him to the light squares. You got to love it, right? You got to love it. There you go. If he goes here, folks, again, you check e6. If he goes up here, you check f7. You see how you maneuver? Folks, again, I'm reviewing it for myself, too. You got to love this stuff. I'm refreshing. I had to put the engine on. I couldn't even see queen f7 at this stage. I'll tell you, I'm as rusty as can be. That's what happens when you have kids, folks. You get married, you have kids. There's no more time for chess, right? Those that are older and experienced, you know it. But now, you know why I'm getting back into it, believe it or not? Know why? Because I'm getting my son into this game. It's a beautiful thing. I'm passing it on. I'm actually making these lessons, hoping he'll watch him and get into it, and then he'll go crush everybody in his age group. You know, he's only 12 years old. Heck, maybe by the time he's 15, he's state champion, right, folks? Hey, father can dream, right? All right. So anyway, here we go. As long as he likes it, you know, I'm not pressuring him. I'm not forcing him. You can't force kids to do something, right? Right, folks? They gotta love it. If they're gonna be good at something, they gotta have the passion for it. You can't force any of your kids to do something. You know, that when you deal with the arts, painting, music, instruments, right? You learn the saxophone, the guitar, the piano. You learn chess, another art form, folks. When you learn these disciplines, you gotta love it to get good at it. So, just a little keynote to the parents out there: you can't force them. You can't force them. They'll end up hating it, you know. They absorb just a little bit. You be an example. I'm looking to get the rust off, folks. I'm getting the polish back up. I'm going to get in there and fight in some of these tournaments, all right? And I'm going to lead by example, show my son, you know, hey, your father's no slouch in this game. In the lower levels, of course, I'm no, you know. Maybe I'll try the Open, gain some points. I always wanted to get right over to, I've been wanting to break through 2,000. I've been very close, folks, very close. I can do it. I know I can do it. Just a matter of putting in the time, folks. You could do anything if you have the passion and you put in the work, the hard work. You could do it. That goes for the kids and the adults. All right, never too old. All right, here we go. A little inspirational talk, right? All right, so he comes up, right? Here you go, the B3 move. There you go. Shredder found it. This is the move they said that he should have played, right? He should have played, because this doesn't work. We just showed it, right? Boom, boom. Okay? He can't move the rook. He can't move the queen. So he's got to move a pawn. This is the pawn he should have moved. They said, you know, look, white's got the edge. He's calling the shots. But black could survive. Who knows? Maybe white will slip up. We're humans, right, folks? And black can hang in there, maybe get the draw. But here's what Lowenthal does. He pushes this one. You see what happens when you get tired, folks? Look, Morphy's dishing it out. He's making tough moves. Here you go. Lowenthal cracks. He makes a A mistake. All right, so what happens now? Well, he gobbles up the pawn like Shredder would, right? I don't know. I think Morphy is Shredder. I think Shredder's Morphy. I don't know. They seem to think alike. All right. So, okay. So now, look at this. So now, the engine's saying this, but there's nothing there, folks. There's nothing there. Right, what do you do? What do you do now? Right, let's throw. You trade the pawns, big deal. And you got, okay, rook coming behind there. You're going to gobble up the c-pawn, too. I mean, there's nothing here, folks. Nothing here. I mean, look, you still got that f-pawn under the gun, the f5, black f5 pawn. All right, so anyway, it could have went a little different. If you look at the engine down there, plus 1.8 for white, so almost a +2 advantage, almost, right? I say almost. Here's what Lowenthal decides to do, right? He challenges the rook, okay? Wait, is that what happens? Oh yeah, and here comes the f-pawn fall. See, I guess he's like, oh no, he's gonna start gobbling up my queen side. Let's get these rooks off the board. Come on, and he pulls the rook back. Now his position starts to crumble. He drops that f-pawn, folks. All right, he blocks with the queen. Morphy gobbles him right up. Get those queens off the board. Now, look at the engine also, right? Going with this. And that's what Morphy, I tell you, they think alike, folks. Uncanny, right? They must have, when they built Shredder, they must have put in its database. They must have put every Morphy move, every game, right? Maybe that was the basis of how they built the program. I don't even know. I'm no computer programmer. But every time you leave it to Shredder, he ends up making Morphy's moves. It's unbelievable. All right, here we go. All right, maybe you let the engine think a little bit more. All right, he comes up with rook takes rook. That's what I wanted to show you. Watch this. We'll leave the engine on so I show you. I'm not lying to you. Look at this. You trade, right? There you go. The mathematics now come into play, folks. The mathematics. The artistic value is lessened. End games are the mathematics. Here you go. Now it's an easy win for white. Easy king and pawn end game, right? Here you go. All you got to do is this. Look, you get your king to the center. Remember, the f-pawn is a pass pawn for white. Black has to babysit that. Not only that, he's got the other pawns too, right? He's got the G and the H pawn. Watch what he does. Watch what he does. Now, all right, I don't know. He's trying to create a pass pawn over here. You push this one up. You control these squares, right? You control E5, right? Let me just borrow this. Let me borrow the king. You control E5, F5, G5, H5. Now this guy can't come up. He's like behind a wall. See, he can't get into the game. Morphy, the white king could march over to the queen side and gobble up those guys. Okay, he tries to create some confusion because if you're dumb enough to take, what did I say, folks? No, weak pawn formation. That's a weak formation. Don't do that. Now the black king could get in between the cracks, could beat up these pawns. All right? There's a chance anyway. Sometimes if they're close enough to the back rank, the black king is in a position where he can't take the back one because the front one would move up and queen. But anyway, look. Don't handicap yourself. Just leave it there. Look, you can just march over. All right, he moves up this way, big deal. If he trades, it's all the same. You take back, you got your same formation. The black king can't come up, right? All right. If he wants to go ahead, all right, fine, right? Here we go. Now, I see. He's going to march up. Why doesn't he just fall in the hole right there? Why doesn't he just go right here? Oh, you take the... Okay, you're going to come in. You're going to come in. White's going to take the initiative, right? He's going to take the initiative. I'll tell you, it's amazing. I said it once, I'll say it again. The less pieces that are on the board, you think it gets easier, folks. This game is so beautiful that the less pieces that are on the board, the more complicated. It's unbelievable. It's where the pieces aren't Now it has to do with the squares themselves. Where the kings step, where they go, where they don't go, can be all the difference. All right, in this stage, right, white starts to grab the initiative here with the king, the opposition, I should say. The black king, right? I don't think he can handle these pawns. Or is this a draw, folks? I don't think so. Oh, he's going to go kill. Now, you can't go kill the H pawn because you got this protected pass D pawn for black. Right? He can't go up here because then this guy marches in. So what do you do? This might be a draw. Might have played this wrong. See, and this is what's tough with the engine. The engine's not as much help at this stage because I'm not leaving it time to think. I guess it would eventually find out that it's a draw. But I think I messed up somewhere. Look. I'm telling you, it's so crucial. The last time I played with Shredder, he played that move. Look, he played this one. That's no good. He plays this, right? So what? You trade the pawns. I'll show you. Amazing how different you get it, right? If he takes here, that's a mistake because now white's got the outside pass pawn. He runs in for a touchdown, right? There's no way he could stop him. No way. He's going to go in. White's king is right there. He's gonna stop these guys. He could easily stop them. See? Comes in, right? All right, you get the check. Where do you go? Where do you go at this point? All right, you go back. You could go here maybe. I don't know. What does it matter? You get your queen. Game over, right? Game over, dummy. Game over. You gobble these guys up, right? No hope. No hope. It's all over. All right, so look. So you don't want to take that way, okay? If once he takes this way, you launch the A pawn. Did I say the H pawn? I don't know. I said the outside pass pawn, right? So far away. Now, if the king goes over to try to stop that guy, right? He's still in the square of the pawn, right? Or is he? No, he's not. He can't even stop him. Okay. So you'd get it anyway. All right. So black would take this way. Look. Black would take this way. So white doesn't get a pass pawn. Okay? But now, obviously, all right. I guess you play this so they don't come side by side. See, black could create a pass pawn if he could play B4 and then B3. Right? He got to make a pass pawn of his own. But you go like this, it stops the B pawn. Now, the white king only has to deal with the C pawn. You see that? Let's see if this is what Shredder does. If I go like this, he goes like that, right? If I want to go eat up the C pawn, well, he could challenge him like this, right? I guess he's still in the. Let's see. He's still in the square of the pawn though, so he can't queen anyway. But you gotta watch those. You gotta watch those little tactics, folks. The end game tactics with these. It's unbelievable. The tactics never stop. Just when you thought it's going to be easy, right? All right, let's say we play that. We stop the B pawn. Now the king just has to deal with that black C pawn. And now it's a lost cause for the black king over here, right? If he comes up now, doesn't matter. You hit him with this, backs off, right? You got the passed F pawn. He's got a pass C pawn. Big deal. Watch what you do here. Let's see if he can do this. Let's see if he plays this first, right? Okay. You go there. He's hoping you take, right? He's hoping you take. Maybe something like this, right? I don't know. Where's he? He's saying to go back. You go up. He goes here. Can this be a draw again? Still in the square of the pawn. He takes, right? See, your king's still in the square of the pawn. But this damn guy, that C pawn on C4, we might not be able to make progress here, huh? He comes up. We can't make headway. pretty crazy, isn't it? Now, he can't take here, folks, because he goes in, see? I'll tell you, these king and pawn endgames is something else. I don't know. We're making our way over this way. He just has to babysit. He's got to babysit those two guys. I got to, unfortunately, babysit the c-pawn. I don't know, folks. Maybe this is a draw. Maybe I played it wrong. I don't know. See, the evaluation is showing that white's winning, but when it comes to these end games, oh, I know what it is. Oh, my almost forgot. Almost forgot. You grandmasters and even masters or high-level players are yelling at me. We got it. We got this in the bag, folks. All right, black makes the move, right? There it is, the a-pawn. I almost forgot that tactic. Look, you split them up. Look, he can't let him go by, right, or take and go by, right? So he's got to capture that one. He got to capture it, right? All right, if he tries this, big deal. You gobble him up. Now he's a dead duck for sure. Look, he takes. Now you eat him up. And now the a-pawn's all by himself. He can't run, can't hide. There you go. There you go. I remember now. See, I almost forgot. Again, folks, I'm brushing up myself. Thanks a lot. See, you live and you learn. You teach yourself. You teach yourself this stuff. All right. So here we go. I love it. I love it. I'm strengthening. I tell you, when I finally do that tournament, I'm going to be well armed. All right. So there you go. You know, this is how it went with Shredder. And yet the other way where he played this pawn up, who knows, folks? Maybe that's the key there. I don't know. But okay. Let's go back, okay? Maybe, just maybe, after the queens were traded, maybe Morphy saw that. Maybe he saw, you know, the master himself. Maybe he saw something like this, you know? And Morphy might say, yeah, that might not be all that great. So what does he do? What does he do? I tell you what, you learn. You're trying to read these guys' mind. That's what I find amazing with this, too. You analyze their moves that took place over 150 years ago, and it's almost like you're reading their mind. He goes right here. He attacks the b-pawn. All right. He attacks the b-pawn. Here's what Shredder finds it. You know, I asked myself the same question. Why not this, right? Why not that? Keep your rook ready to leap. The black rook can leap into the game, maybe. Counterattack. Look at what Lowenthal. I guess once your game starts to crumble, you start making mistake after mistake. He protects it with the rook, right? He protects it with the rook. And now, what does Morphy do again over here? What he goes, that was move 38, right? 38. He puts, he puts the other pawn up, taking those squares away from the king, right? No different. Here we go. The king moves over. Here comes Morphy, right? All right, he tries to hit him, folks. He tries to hit him. Now, does Morphy take, folks? Come on, dummy up. The great Morphy, come on. I just told you, you got to keep that formation. Control those squares. Keep the enemy black king out of there. Here he goes. Look at Morphy. Attacking the c-pawn now, right? What are you going to do? Go like this to defend it? All right, little joke. Okay. So he goes like this. The only way to save it, right, folks? I mean, I guess he could go here, but then what range does your rook have, right? All right, but even this, what kind of range? He's only got this one square, the b8 square, to run his rook to now. Unbelievable, right? So after that, let's see, wait. Let's see, wait, where do we go? King there. Oh, he plays this. Let me make sure I get this right. Move 39 was pawn up. Move 40, rook down for Morphy. Pawn takes pawn. He does this first. Okay. So then Morphy takes back. Controlling what, folks? Controlling these squares. Keeping that enemy king back. All right. So now let's see. Pawn takes pawn. King to bishop 3. I think I got the moves wrong here. I'm getting mixed up. They trade. I'll tell you, Lowenthal got tired in this game. I'm getting tired myself. All right, so look, Morphy attacks. All right, Lowenthal defends. Big no-no, right? The question mark for that move. Now you get the pawn coming up, right? You get pawn here. Okay. King up. Then you get pawn up here. Now you get the rook down. Okay. That's what he did. Now Lowenthal takes there. He takes. Now the king goes here. Okay. The king moves over. All right. He's lost, folks. He's busted at this point. Pawn comes to F5. You get the king coming up. Here comes the rook check. Right? King attacks the rook. Pawn supports the rook, and it's 2 moves to a touchdown, right? All right, Lowenthal tries to get the rook into the game now, okay? G-pawn coming up. They're marching, folks. They're marching up the board. All right, he moves the rook here on F8 to stop the advance of this guy, else he drops him, right? All right. But Morphy can now he could play it cool. He brings the king up. He's going to support that pawn. Here we go. They push the pawn up. Lowenthal trying to get something going of his own. They trade pawns on C4, right? All right, king up. Getting ready now to push the G pawn up. The F pawn is now protected. All right, look at this. He tries to run. He tries to run in there. Rook back attacking the pawn. And now Lowenthal sees he's got nothing. No hope, nothing. Can't do it, folks. He can't do anything. What is he going to do, right? He can't protect this pawn in any way. He's going to drop that pawn. He can't stop the F and G pawns. It's all over. Plus, White's got the A pawn, past A pawn to boot. Okay? So Lowenthal resigns, and there you have it, folks. Morphy takes the match. Let me just touch on the beginning notes here. They had the actual record. I forget offhand how many games it was. Let's see. It says Staunton was the umpire and F.H. Lewis the stakeholder. The final score was Morphy 9, Lowenthal 3, with 2 draws. Okay? Not a bad showing for Morphy. He handled Lowenthal with no problem. Right? 9 wins to 3 with 2 draws thrown in. All right. So there you have it. He moves on, folks. Here you go. It was Morphy's first match in Europe, was played in London between July 19th and August 22nd, 1858, in the rooms of the St. George's Chess Club, located on King Street in St. James, and the London Chess Club, Cornhill, alternatively. The conditions were that play should take place 4 days a week, and that the match should go to the winner of the first 9-1 games. So there you go. All right? Morphy won his 9th win, and he beat Lowenthal. All right, so there he goes. Now he's still in Europe. He's going to challenge more, folks. I tell you got to stay tuned next. Who's he going to play next? Let me just give you a little upcoming excitement here. All right. The match versus the Reverend John Owen. Holy smokes, I can't wait. Is Morphy going to blast through him? You're going to have to stay tuned to find out, folks. And another exciting episode of Morphy's Games of Chess. Don't miss it. All right, thanks again, folks. Have a good night.